Ladies and gentlemen, Japan has chosen its new prime minister. She is the conservative Sanae Takaichi, and the media has completely lost its mind, to the point that they're already comparing her to Donald Trump. Look, the rise of the Japanese Trump. Why is Sanae Takaichi the worst thing for Japanese democracy since Shinzo Abe's second term? Ha 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 ha, they're just shameless. In fact, if you search on Google, the vast majority of media outlets say things like this. The ultra-conservative Sanae Takaichi is one step away from becoming the first woman to lead Japan. The ultra-nationalist Sanae Takaichi will be Japan's next prime minister. Again, look. The ultra-conservative Sanae Takaichi is on the verge of making history as Japan's head of government. How curious, right? Whenever it's a right-wing person, they're always ultra. Always. It's really peculiar how the media works. I think that we honestly don't hate the mainstream media enough. Look, here we go again. The ultra-conservative Sanae Takaichi, new leader of Japan's ruling party, and the favorite to become the next prime minister. There's also something very important we need to clarify. This is the first woman to ever become prime minister in Japan's entire history. Here's a comment for us. Breaking news. Sanae Takaichi has just won the internal vote of Japan's ruling party to become its next candidate for Prime Minister of Japan. The anti-immigration politician is a member of Japan's largest nationalist organization, Nippon Kaigi, and is known as a hardline conservative. Takaichi opposes same-sex marriage and supports the requirement that couples share a single last name after marriage. She has also stated that a government gender equality plan could destroy the social structure based on family units. And she has opposed proposals to change the law so that a woman could become the emperor of Japan. Takaichi supports imprisoning those who damage Japan's national flag. Pay attention to this point. It's not a minor issue. Guys, did you know that in Japan, if you destroy a foreign flag, it's a crime? That's right, as you heard, if a Japanese person destroys a Chinese flag, they're committing a crime and would go to jail. But if a Chinese person destroys a Japanese flag, nothing happens, there's no problem at all. I know it sounds crazy, I know it sounds absurd, but those are Japan's laws. Unbelievable. As for the economy, she would continue with Shinzo Abe's economic policies. Alright then. She is considered an anti-China hawk when it comes to foreign policy and supports revising Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution, which prohibits Japan from engaging in armed conflicts. She is also an outspoken critic of Chinese economic practices, such as intellectual property theft, and calls for Japan to reduce its economic dependence on China. She believes that immigration to Japan risks destabilizing Japanese society, and argues that Japanese heritage must be protected. In fact, look at what this woman was saying just a few days ago. A message to disrespectful foreigners. Japan is not going to tolerate it. Soul being trampled on. That's how it's done. Japan needs a leader who commands respect again, and let's hope this woman can achieve that. Anyway, here they're telling us that Japan choosing a strong nationalist voice like Sanae Takaichi's shows that the people want tradition to be defended. Protecting culture, sovereignty, and family is vital. The globalists won't like this, but Japan is standing firm. Okay, here they're also telling us the following. Breaking news. Sanae Takaichi would be chosen as the new Prime Minister of Japan, known for her conservative stance and her closeness to Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. May he rest in peace. She is considered one of the toughest figures of the Japanese far right and the first woman to hold the position. It's always the same term, far right, but apparently there's no far left. Unbelievable. Here they tell us the use of the term far right has become normalized for any political space that doesn't go along with the trendy progressivism or wokeness in most Western countries and in 99% of mainstream media. That term is used to create a sense of alarm, of concern, and using it is just pathetic. I completely agree. Mainstream media and most Western governments use the term far right to discredit anyone who doesn't share their views, anyone who doesn't follow their political agenda. An ideology. By the way, here's something interesting about Sanae Takaichi. Please pay attention. Sanae Takaichi is about to become Japan's first female prime minister, but you could also say she's the first metalhead prime minister, since she played drums in a metal band while she was in college and has even been interviewed by Metal Hammer magazine. A big change compared to Ishiba, the idol otaku prime minister. Let's take a look here, even just look at her. Here is Sanae Takaichi. In fact, this was her when she was young on her motorcycle and everything. No, she looks cool, really, really cool. And look at her singing. Yeah, unbelievable but true. Also, check out this photo of Sanae Takaichi playing drums in the 90s. Here they also mention the hardline conservative politician. Anti-immigration. Sanae Takaichi has just won the internal vote of Japan's ruling party. Now it's likely that she'll become the country's next prime minister. Pay attention to this. Japan's prime minister was super based when she was young, and she also wants to make sure Japan stays Japanese. That's fucking awesome. God bless you, Sanae Takaichi, to hell with political correctness. Wow. Here they also tell us that Sanae Takaichi will effectively become Japan's next prime minister. Some of you are probably wondering when this woman is going to take office, and look, there's still no exact date, but it'll be in mid-October. But pay attention to this. Former Prime Minister Kishida doesn't seem happy that Takaichi won. Supposedly, he compared her to the Taliban because they have extreme views. It's always the same craziness, you see? Mark Ruffalo also said exactly the same thing about Donald Trump in the Jimmy Kimmel issue, but he didn't say anything when Charlie Kirk was taken out. That didn't seem extremist to him, and he definitely didn't compare it to the Taliban. Do you see what I mean? The exact same thing is happening here with the issue in Japan. Don't forget that the person whose life was taken was Shinzo Abe. But anyway, here's what people are saying. She opposes same-sex marriage, she's against gender equality, because she believes it will destroy Japan's social structure. She supports imprisoning citizens or foreigners who desecrate the Japanese flag. She's against the Chinese Communist Party and believes in rebuilding the Japanese military. Let's see how this former Prime Minister Kishida left. Just look at him, look. He leaves alone, upset, serious. So this is something that many people in Japan noticed. Please, let's see what the traditional Western media are saying.
The ultra-conservative Sanae Takaichi became, this Saturday, the new leader of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, the ruling party in Japan, and she is within reach of becoming, on October 15th, pending a parliamentary vote, the country's new prime minister. Takaichi, 64 years old, has defeated her main rival in the final vote, Agriculture Minister Shinzo Koizumi, son of former Japanese Prime Minister Hoichiro Koizumi. Takaichi's chances of ultimately replacing former Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba are very high, because Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, in coalition with its junior partner, the Komeito Party, remains the largest force in parliament, and the opposition parties currently lack the unity needed to challenge the mandate.
In short, is it practically a done deal that this woman will be Japan's new prime minister? And let me tell you, she will take office very, very soon. Let's stay tuned. Let's hope this is the best for Japan. Let's hope this woman keeps her promises. And let's hope she makes Japan great again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and see you next time.